This is WPSL Port St. Lucie, the talk of the Treasure Coast.
It is 10:07 on the East Coast, 7:07 in Las Vegas, where Mike King happens to live. And you're listening to Money Info, brought to you by Princeton Research. Don't forget that newsletter every Sunday, and it's written by Charles Moscowitz and Mike King. Good morning, guys.
Good morning.
How are you? Whoops.
Very
good. Cold. Charles is cold. Oh, really? I thought you were here in South Florida.
I was last week.
Yeah. Wow. Well, just a slight.
And it was pretty crappy there, by the way.
Actually,
I never put on a bathing suit. Never got my toes in a pool or the water.
Yeah, actually, we had you guys down there had some pretty heavy rains, which we didn't get.
Oh yeah,
up here. So it was like, okay, yeah. I was up in Central Florida that during all that. So Charles, is it single digits up there?
No. Today it's back up to, I think the high is going to be in the low 30s. But Sunday morning I woke up to take the dog out, and it was 4.
Yeah. Yes.
And it was windy.
Oh man. And I was watching some of the video of the football games, and I remembered covering some of those games in single digit temperatures, and not fun.
Yeah.
Not fun at all.
Sunday morning when I got up to take the dog out, it was 56.
Oh. Well, that usually means that you're going to get a major snowfall right after.
Yeah, right. Well, we had a little bit of snow. So, did you kiss your buddy Vern Lundquist goodbye?
Good guy. We've worked around each other for a long time. Of course, I never.
I figured you had, because he's about your age. Right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And I've never worked at CBS, so but yeah. Oh, he's an institution, and one of the great old Southern gentlemen. I mean, he really is, and they did it the right way. With him, he's Mr. Southeastern Conference now. So yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, they tossed him out in nice fashion. So, yeah, it was kind of cool. Yeah, the guy that I felt so bad for was a guy that, he and I, just almost traveled together all the time, and that was Craig Sager. He lost his battle with leukemia, and one of the true, real good guys. And, he was around at the very early days of Chicken Noodle News, and while we were starting ESPN, and it was we had a lot of adventures together, believe me, and that was a sad one. That was a tough one to take, but one of the real good guys. One of the real good guys. So, Michael, how are things in lovely Las Vegas?
Well, it's not as cold, obviously. It's like 40s early in the morning, and then it warms up to like 60 during the day, and the sun is always out.
Sure.
So that's pretty nice that we don't have clouds. That's pretty.
You just have a lot of wind out there, as I remember. Yeah.
Occasionally.
Yeah. But now let's talk a little bit of construction here. I mean, how is that start? Is it starting to really kick in there?
Well, a lot of new businesses coming in,
okay.
Especially electric vehicles. We have the largest electric battery company, one of the largest ones here, K2 Energy. So will be a large participant in new electric energy inventions and creations around the world.
That's very cool.
Well,
Vegas.
don't they mine two of the major components of those batteries? Don't they mine lithium and cobalt both in Nevada?
Certainly, but not in
Yeah,
Las
well,
Vegas.
those
In the hills.
No, but I understand. But they're close by. I mean, it's not
Not
like
too
they're-
close, a couple
you know.
hundred miles away.
Well, yeah, but not. It's not like they're mining them in the Arctic Circle and bringing them back down to you.
No, but
I
if
mean,
you
it's
ever
relatively
travel in the
local.
corners of Nevada, you could be almost like in another country.
Yeah. Actually, Four Corners is a different world up there. It really is. Mike, you're right. It is so desolate. Carol used to travel up there all the time, and to Indian reservations up there, and it's a beautiful place in the world, and literally they call it Four Corners because there's four states that all run into each other there. It's cool. So that's where they mine for all that stuff, huh?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, Charles, what's going on in your world?
Not a damn thing.
Well, the Patriots aren't so bad.
That's
no,
right.
The Patriots are great.
I mean,
the Patriots are great.
it's
And
an amazing.
We got the Dow,
it's
we got
amazing.
the Dow
but-
closing in on 20,000 here. We're 19,968. We've been as high as 19,984.
So
personally, I don't understand what the big deal is, but you know.
So what is the deal? What is the deal,
You know,
guys?
it's a round number. It's something to talk about. That's all it is. I mean, there's what's the difference between 19,000 or 21,000? You know, it's a number.
But
Give some of these jokers something to talk about.
well, is it something that's psychological though? When you remember back
Yeah,
to the
that's
80s.
what it is. It's psychological.
Yeah. Huh. Wow. So 2017 is going to be kind of interesting, I would imagine. There's.
That's a good word for it.
If you
I mean, I'm so tired of hearing. You know, I thought it was bad for the 18 months prior to the election to have to deal with, all of the crap and all of the ads and, all of the mud flinging. And all it's done is just carry over now. He's going to do this. He's not going to do that. He's not prepared for this. He's not prepared for that. What, like Obama was? The guy had never run an organization of any size ever. And eight years later, he still wasn't ready to do it. So, I'm just a kind of a wait and see kind of guy. I mean, I will say one thing: the way that his picks for his cabinet are shaking out, it really brings back around the thought that occurred in, I know you're going to think this is crazy, but the Eisenhower days of the military-industrial complex. You got all these business guys and all these retired generals all in the cabinet. I mean, it's pretty interesting to see it that way. But, my attitude is very simple. Number one, it's wait and see. But number two, it's, I'm willing to give the guy a shot. I mean, he wasn't my choice. Of course, she wasn't my choice either. But, there are a lot of guys who are pretty smart and very bright business guys who are involved now. And I think he's got some interesting ideas. And frankly, he can't do anything at all, without the checks and balances. So, we'll see what it'll look like months from now.
Yeah, I can't wait.
From now.
Yeah, I can't wait till after the first of the year, Mike, when you bring Tim Connolly back on to have him talk about the new interior person who's from Montana. And if anybody's going to know about the interior, it would be an individual from the Rockies and Perry, of all things, for an energy czar.
Running the, running the agency that he forgot about in the debate.
Yes,
and said he wanted to do away with.
Yes,
if you recall. That was one of the three agencies that he wanted to do away with, but he couldn't remember the name of it.
Oh man. Well,
Anyway, so the market's been really interesting in that there's a new group every day. It was defense right after the election. Then it was anti the defense as soon as he started tweeting about Boeing, followed by, let's see, what was the one we owned? Lockheed Martin.
Oh, Lockheed, the F-35. Yeah. Actually,
Yeah.
we had an F-35 pilot on our senior show. He's the son-in-law, brother-in-law of the host, and she had him on, and he's this whiz kid. He's like in his 20s, right? Flying one of these planes, but it's amazing.
And they're amazing planes.
Oh yeah, well, yeah, and the pilot is an amazing kid. I mean, he was talking about he got 1B in high school or something like that. He's a kid's a brainiac, flying one of those things.
Right.
Yeah, it's amazing to see, but I would imagine that whole energy side, and the fact that the Russians are kind of staking out their territory in the Arctic, as it loosens up a little bit up there as far as the ice goes, they say that there's 550 years worth of oil under the Arctic.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting stuff.
Yeah, the only problem is, you're going to have a problem if it keeps on going the way that it's going, because as the ice continues to melt and the level of the ocean continues to get higher, Boca is going to be on the water. And so, even West Boca has a shot at being in the water. And so they're not going to have the need for much in the way of gasoline because the state's going to shrink a bit. I mean, have you ever seen the interactive map that they've had on some of these documentaries?
Oh, yeah.
And specials?
Well,
I mean, it's unbelievable how they, what it looks like with, the level of the ocean with even a 5% melt of the Arctic or the Antarctic.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's unbelievable.
Yeah. Well, figure out this way. That's one way to clean up Miami.
That's right.
Just sink it. Man. Yeah. Well, at least where we go to play Miami-Dade, it's way inland in Kendall. So that may be.
Oh, I know.
That may be oceanfront property as we speak in 15
when
years.
I first moved to Florida in 1968, I came down and I got an apartment, and my apartment was on North Kendall Drive and 107th, right across the street from the entrance to Miami-Dade. And I was in the second to the last complex on the north side of the street. And about 200 yards further west from me, the road turned to dirt. After having gone from 2 lanes to 1 lane, and then 1 lane to dirt, all the way out to Chrome Avenue. And then 5 years later, when my father moved down there, he had a place on North Kendall Drive and 144th. And it was 4 lanes in front of my house and 2 lanes all the way out to him. And they had paved all the way out to Chrome
Sure.
Avenue.
That's yes.
And now, if you want to go from Dadeland to Chrome Avenue with all of the traffic over there, you got to figure a half hour.
Sure.
I mean, it's the density there is unbelievable.
I'm not sure what
where there was literally nothing.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I'm not sure what the name of the freeway is, but whenever we take it from the Pike, and we give almost 3 hours to get to Miami-Dade College, even though in reality it's maybe less than a 2-hour drive. But that last hour, will take you about 7.5 miles. It's amazing. I mean, it's
okay. So I went on 75. I went from Boca over to Naples.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
The weekend before. Okay. Can you straighten something out for me? What the heck is a silver alert?
Silver alert are alerts of folks our age, Charles, that get lost.
No.
Yes. Oh, yeah. Yeah. That's that's it. Yeah.
So my grandfather. So what do they? What happens? They call in and they say, my grandfather, who's not supposed to be driving, got in the car and we can't find him.
Right. And you could call 911 and bang, it's a silver alert on every freeway in the state of Florida.
Yeah, I couldn't believe it. I was driving on 75 and I see this sign, silver alert, and I just went, what the heck could that possibly be?
That's it. Same as the Amber Alerts. Yep, same thing.
Yeah.
Yes.
Good.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Only in Florida.
Well, yeah, that's got to admit that. Yep, no doubt about it. So, Michael, anything? Are you guys doing anything special for the holidays?
Well, we're expecting Robert Saucier to call in from Galaxy Gaming.
Oh, cool. Yeah, we should have a little fun with that today. Yeah, very cool. Are you and the family going to stay close to home, or are you going to be traveling?
Well, this is a great place. I mean, if you like sports, there's nothing better than Las Vegas.
Well, that's true. Yep.
We can watch several games at the same time simultaneously.
Yeah, yes, and bet on them too. Yes, I know that. I'm well aware of that. That's why I stay away from your town, Mike. No, I must admit, and of course Tark had a lot to do with it. But the year that I did UNLV sports, football and basketball, it was a fun year. It was the mid '80s, and they were really rocking and rolling as a basketball team at the time, and doing very well. And then, of course, Tarkanian was just so fun, and his son Danny, who's now a lawyer, was part of that team, and yeah, it was kind of a cool time to be there. But yeah, a year was enough for me. It was just the town was just a little too fast for me, you know. But I would imagine when you live there, you probably very seldom go to the Strip, do you?
Well, I usually go. I can go to the Strip. I mean, we have some very beautiful sports books on the Strip, needless to say.
Yep. Oh, yeah.
We also have them populated just short of the Strip. So if you want to avoid the traffic, you can.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Well, and whatever happened to that whole drive from Las Vegas Conviz to make it more of a family-friendly city rather than the old Sin City image?
It's developing. I mean, there's many areas developing in Las Vegas. So
and I think that even on the Strip, I see a lot of stuff. There are a lot of family-friendly shows in the hotels. I mean,
yeah.
You know, if I was staying, excuse me, excuse me, and this is a couple of years ago. Mike and I did a money show, and that year it was at Mandalay Bay. And I'm telling you, if I had to ride up and down in the elevator one more time and hear the theme from Lion King, which was playing there,
Yes.
I would have shot myself. I mean, there's plenty of there's plenty of kid-friendly stuff. I mean, in New York has, the roller coaster and other kid game stuff. I think there's plenty of stuff for families right there on the Strip. I mean, and you got Treasure Island with the the pirate ships, and I mean, there's plenty of stuff right there on the Strip.
And it's going to be very interesting to see how that city adapts to having the Raiders there.
No water?
Well, no water. Well, you know what, though? Going all the way back to the early 80s, when we got to L.A., there were some water studies for Phoenix, Las Vegas, and Tucson, and, of course, Los Angeles and San Diego, that, we're all sharing this, Colorado River water. Well,
right.
Surprise, surprise, that's lessening every year. So, it's, a lot of people don't understand. Where Mike is in Las Vegas, they say, oh, that's desert. Well, let me tell you, L.A. and San Diego are desert, too. That if you go back to the 1800s, I mean, that was all desert property. It's amazing. It is amazing. But, you look at it this way. Mike will be the last state in the United States, if you think about it, when California secedes. That's if that movement takes place out there and they become a foreign country. I mean, hey, Nevada will be the gateway to the United States.
Well, they certainly have the airport.
Oh yeah, I'm sure that place has changed a dozen times since the last time I was there. So yeah.
And you can fly directly from here to Beijing.
Really?
Yes.
From Vegas to Beijing. Really?
Yep.
Wow.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's not a surprise. So they're bypassing LAX. That's very interesting. Wow. Yeah. That is truly amazing. Mike, on the Pacific Rim, what are you looking at for 2017? I just, every time I see Bloomberg, I mean, you're looking at double digits, of growth in some of these countries. It's amazing.
It sure is. They're growing nicely. They have reasonable labor costs. Malaysia, the Philippines, I expect 6 to 8% growth the next 4 years, which really adds up. They've been growing 6 to 8% the last 2 years. So if you take 6 years of 6 to 8%, where are you? You're 36 to 50% growth.
Wow. Yeah, that's amazing. That is.
You just can't fly on Malaysian Air.
Oh, come on, John.
Yeah, that's for sure.
That's you just don't fly into San Francisco, or that wasn't them. But anyway, never mind. Yeah, bad joke. But you have to wonder, when you start looking at those GDPs over there, they're just a total 180 from where we are and where Europe is.
Yeah. Well, the other thing is, you're talking about growth in countries that have gone from agrarian. I mean, you're talking about Europe and the U.S. At the same time that we went through the Industrial Revolution. I mean, you're talking about small countries. Not that Malaysia is a small country, but you're talking about lots of small countries, like, let's say, Vietnam, that that have massive labor forces, but were basically agrarian economies that are now manufacturing economies that had a very low level of manufacturing that have grown, in the case of Vietnam, or how about Korea, South Korea?
Sure.
That have grown hundreds of percents over the past couple of decades. That's pretty amazing. And the further south you go in Asia, the more agrarian it is and the biggest potential for growth it is. I mean, look at us. We went from basically agrarian to industrial to services, over the last 100 years.
Yeah, that's true.
I'm actually pretty amazed at again. The book that I have now read twice, the Tom Friedman book that talks about where we are now vis-a-vis what we have at our fingertips based on computing power and availability. They liken it to some of the major changes that we've gone through, from electricity to automobile to, and this one always surprises me, air conditioning, in manufacturing, and now in this massive amount of computing power where everything is literally, a mouse click away, or as with smartphones, a finger away, 2 clicks, and it just is amazing what we have at our fingertips now. You think about what it would have taken for me to get to you, Greg, 50 years ago even, to what it takes now. I mean, if I want to pick up my smartphone and make a reservation and call an Uber to take me to the airport, I can decide before the end of the show, in a half hour, that I want to have dinner with you tonight. And, with the use of my cell phone, I can get a reservation, get an Uber to go to the airport, get on a plane, and, in 4 or 5 hours, I'm knocking on your door.
Or
think about what it would.
Or in maybe 5 years from now, get in the new Boeing, whatever Jetstar or whatever they're going to call that, the rocket plane, and you'll leave from Boston, and you'll be here in an hour. Yeah. Oh yeah.
Right.
Yeah, and unlike
all from my smartphone.
Oh yeah, sure. What was the name? Gosh, I can't think of the name of the big British jet.
Concord.
Yes, the Concorde. Well, but you could only fly that into certain cities. Because
of the noise abatement.
Exactly. But the rocket plane, you'll be able to fly in everywhere. So, all of a sudden, your, say, Las Vegas to Boston trip is going to be, less than 2 hours. Or maybe even
or the hyperlink.
Yeah. It's mind-boggling. But I will say, did you hear President Obama talk about the new rail service between Florida and California that he wants to start? It's like, come on, are you serious? Yeah. There was a news conference last week on it, on brand new rail service.
Right.
Oh.
Yeah, and with the degree of regulation, that new Boeing jet will be out before he can get it permitted to go from Florida as far as, Texas. And then it'll take another decade to build it.
To get it through Texas.
And by then it'll be obsolete.
Yes. Well, and it's so
Seriously,
funny.
I mean, so look at the regulation. Look at what they've done. Look at what they've done with the oil pipeline with the Indians and Native Americans,
Yes.
with the Native Americans in South Dakota.
Mm-hmm.
Or the Canadian pipeline that, they okayed, approved, decided, well, we don't really want it running through this part of Kansas. Could you move it 48 feet to the left? Or, it is what it is. In any event, the other thing that I wanted to mention about this market,
mm-hmm.
think about what happened yesterday between the shooting of the Russian diplomat and the attack of the Berlin Christmas market.
Horrible. Yeah.
All that happened in the market was we went from up 100 to up 40 and closed there. Now, recall what happened last New Year's Eve day when there were pictures on the TV at noon our time, and there was a fire in Malaysia that had nothing to do with terror whatsoever. There was no attack. It was simply a fire. And just the pictures appearing on CNBC and Bloomberg and all of the local TV stations, and the market went down 400. So, I find that to be pretty amazing that the market has that kind of resiliency to basically ignore. I mean, you think about it, 50 points on a 20,000 Dow is what, 0.4%? Where last year, when the Dow was 17,000, it went down 400 points, which is almost 2%, on something that they told us was absolutely not terror-related. I mean, that's pretty darn resilient.
Mm-hmm.
And, it makes me think that's, pretty darn bullish.
But you have to wonder if their other shoes are ready to fall, too. I mean, that's the other thing that's the whole nature of terror. That's they want to do.
Yeah.
Terrorize.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
But we shook that off. I mean, shooting a diplomat, let's see.
At a public function, no less.
World War I started for less than that.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow. Yeah. Yes.
Archduke Ferdinand. I mean, in a I don't mean to say it quite like this, but in a crappy little country.
Sure.
I mean, relative to what happened, you're talking about it happened in Turkey, which is a dramatic hotbed.
Yep.
Who is, still basically a NATO ally. And it was a Russian diplomat who we have no end of trouble dealing with as a country.
And the Turks have problems with Russia big time. I mean, there's no doubt about that.
No retaliation. Maybe there will be something. But, the market doesn't believe it. And frankly, you haven't heard any threats. I mean, you get more threats out of Russia on hacking news and more threats out of us to Russia on hacking news, which just amazes me that the ETF, HACK, which is all of these, cybersecurity companies, and the individual cybersecurity companies, which are doing absolutely nothing. I can't imagine that. I just don't get why there's not more action in those. It's clearly a problem. It's clearly going to be a bigger problem. I mean, did they get that far ahead of themselves that we can have these kind of problems and they still are doing nothing?
So cybersecurity
these companies,
stocks are flat?
Pretty much.
Wow.
Let me just pull up the chart on HACK. HACK has a range for the year of roughly at the low 20, at the high 28. Last year's range was about 34 to 20, and it was on the downside. It was all on the downside. I mean, it started the year, the high of the year was in May, and it spent the rest of the year coming down. At 34 was the high in May, and 24 was around the close for the year. It continued down to about $20 in the beginning of January when we had the big sell-off. So in 4 weeks, it went from 24 to 20, which is, not inconsequential. And it has rallied up to 28. But, some of these stocks have just done nothing. Palo Alto Networks, PANW, which is the class in the group. From 2013, it went from roughly 40 to mid-2015, it was 200. And since then, it has gone from 200 to right now, it's back around 128. So it's been cut by not exactly half, but 40%, and is just sitting there. The last 3 or 4, the last month, it's been between 120 and 130. And certainly with the election stuff, you would have thought at the beginning, right before the election, the stock was 165, and it's come down to 128 in that period of time. Since the election, since all the news and all the issues.
Yeah, and they've been the darlings of all the television networks, too. I mean, you always see Palo Alto people on Bloomberg and CNBC and ABC News and stuff. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
That's wild.
They are the class of the group. I mean, they're not a little fly-by-night. They're not, and I don't remember who owns Symantec now, or, any of the other big guys.
Just
or
hope,
former big guys.
Just hope Yahoo doesn't, right?
Yeah.
Oh man. It's
the standing joke last week about Yahoo and their hack of 1 billion accounts was, number one, Yahoo doesn't have 1 billion accounts, and number two, imagine all the people who got notifications that their accounts were hacked and didn't remember that they had Yahoo Mail.
Yes.
I mean, when was the last time you got an email from somebody that had an email address that ended in yahoo.com?
Yeah, maybe 3 or 4 years ago. Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah. Wow.
I mean, if it wasn't for their stake in Alibaba, they'd have nothing. And Mike and I were looking for something yesterday or the day before. And I said, oh, yeah, you just go to Yahoo, put in finance, and you put in that, that symbol, and they'll tell you who the competitors are. Well, it took us a combined effort. Probably took me, 40 minutes to figure out how to navigate through Yahoo to get to something that I used to be able to do in 2 clicks. It took me literally 40 minutes to be able to find the page that I was looking for and then just, email it over to Mike so that he could see it. But it was ridiculous. They changed it. They made it so difficult to navigate. I mean, it's like, how can I shoot myself in the foot today?
Well, and to make matters worse, Windows 10 doesn't really, and depending on who your web, of course we use, I can't think of it. It's not McAfee, but it's one of the big ones for our virus service. No, what is it? Avast is what we use throughout
Avast,
the
right.
throughout the
free one.
stations. Yeah, and so that is the one that we use here. And Avast will not let you go into Yahoo. Did you know that? Yeah,
No.
Avast will stop you from going into Yahoo. Yeah, that's so it's like, okay, you have to hit it like 3 or 4 times before it finally lets you through. Yeah, especially if you have the Avast security net or whatever it's called, which I have in my machine in my office. And yeah, you really have to try to do that to get to Yahoo.
They've made it impossible to use them.
Yeah, it's amazing. Absolutely amazing. Well, what I thought was very interesting, and I don't know whether it's just coincidence or whatever, was when Bill Gates came down and he was talking about how Trump was just talking about innovation, that we really have to stick our foot on the gas pedal and innovate, just, like we did 15, 20 years ago. And, he really liked that message. And, Gates was dead set against this guy, but he likes that message, and I think that's marvelous. It's just what you were talking about before. If we can stay on the innovation cusp and keep going.
Right.
Our local college here, Indian River State College, is about to break ground on a new advanced manufacturing center. And boy, let me tell you, the biggies, the big aircraft giants are all going to be involved in this. And it's all robotics. I mean, it's robotics, lasers, you name it. And it's photonics, all this stuff. It's really cool, and you think if we can, keep leading there, I mean, that should keep us going, I would think.
Yeah.
It's Did you happen to catch the 60 Minutes piece, you or Mike, on this guy who's a business development guy in Mississippi, the poorest county in the United States, where this guy has just gone out and he's 1,000 miles an hour, and he got with his local college and just started pitching all these major plants in his little area. And, this was an area that was just, major unemployment, huge job loss. Town was disappearing. Well, and basically it's coming back. Well, and this one critic of his said, well, he still has not brought back all the jobs. But the jobs that are being done there in this town are all $60,000, $80,000 a year jobs, and taking care of the robots who are actually making the devices. So, okay, so these are all like computer-related type of jobs, and it's brought the town back. I think that's very cool.
Yeah, I only caught the end of it.
Oh, go on the web and watch it.
It was interesting.
Oh my God! What a great story. I mean, because if you can do it there, you should be able to do it anywhere. And you just think, wow, this is really amazing stuff.
It's funny. You know who J.R. Simplot is?
I've heard the name. I don't know.
He's an Idaho guy.
Okay.
And he was one of the biggest potato farmers in the country.
Oh, yeah, famous Idaho potatoes, which we carry the Idaho Potato Bowl, by the way, later this week.
Yeah. and somebody got him involved with Micron Technologies.
Okay.
And this guy became so enamored with the company that, and the technology behind it, that he got all of his people he leaned on all of his people hard to invest in Micron. And I think at the time it was $4 or $5. And he invested a chunk of their pension and profit sharing. and became very outspoken, bought a big piece of the company, and he had all of these very, very low-tech workers. Micron was one of the biggest. I think they did memory. The symbol on the stock is MU, and if I tell you that this guy got these people and his town and his community involved in this years ago, and when I say years ago, I mean the late 80s, beginning of the 90s.
Yeah.
When the stock was on an adjusted basis, literally, let's call it $1. And when I say that, when on an adjusted basis, I say it that way because in '94 they split it 5 for 2. In '95 they split it 2 for 1, and in 2000 they split it again 2 for 1.
God. Okay.
The stock had a run from $1 to 100.
Whoa.
It's currently around $20 on that split basis. But you think about it, 5 for 2 means if you had 100 shares, you now have 250. 2 for 1 means you had 500, and 2 for 1 again meant you had 1,000. So if you had 100 shares at $1, you had 1,000 shares at $100. Means you have 1,000 shares here. You're talking about for $100, you now have $20,000. And this guy just literally made his people get involved with it by virtue of what he was doing for them and, trying to show them. It's the same thing. He literally, he didn't train them. He didn't teach them to fish, but he filled their freezer with fish.
Wow. That's an amazing story.
A potato farmer.
Wow.
Potato farmer to high tech. It was unbelievable. And he was written up a half a dozen times, from Barron's, all kinds of places. Really, there are people who, just have faith in their conviction and go about doing it however it is that they can do it. And they're right. Just like this guy in Mississippi. But you have to have strong convictions, and you have to have a bunch of, let's just say, stick-to-itiveness.
Yeah, or you would say chutzpah.
Chutzpah, right. Right.
Oh,
you have
man.
to have chutzpah, and you got to be a mensch.
Okay. Sure, Charles.
Yep, that's it.
Wow.
That's got to be.
That's truly amazing. Well, Michael.
So now
go ahead, Charles.
No, it's okay. Where's our guy from Galaxy, Mike?
I don't know.
I don't know what happened to Robert, but Galaxy Gaming there's only a couple companies that make table games, and Galaxy is the second biggest, and they're in about 800 casinos with tremendous demand.
Yeah, I saw that, and what I thought was fascinating, not just the games, but did you see, Michael, where they this fascinated me, the old reporter in me, right? Where they created Spectrum Vision, which is basically a spying device that searches for card counters. I thought, hey, that's one thing every casino can use, But yeah, they're a fascinating company. They really are. Yeah, it's very cool. Very
well. Galaxy Gaming, the symbol is GLXZ, and it's just around 50 cents. And the games that they have are in high demand. They're in least 600 casinos, and casinos are proliferating. I don't know if you've ever driven up the West Coast towards Vancouver, but there's so many Indian casinos.
Oh, yeah. A lot of the reservations are doing that now. Yeah, well, they know it's a way to make money. I mean, down here in Miccosukee has done it for years. The Seminoles have too. So, yeah, you bet.
Yeah.
So, well,
I think I heard the Seminoles were thinking about moving or a branch of the Seminoles is now talking about moving and opening a casino, Panama City, which is about as far north as I would imagine there have been casinos.
well, I can't imagine, there's anything up in that area of the Panhandle. You bet. Yeah. I don't know.
Well, and it will pull people, I assume, from South Georgia, eastern, Alabama, that whole area. Of course, as soon as you go 200 miles west, you're already talking about Louisiana, which has its own.
Yeah, and Louisiana.
I mean, most getting to be the case that every state has gambling in some form.
Yeah. Well, and, the lotteries, which supposedly made money for education, but we all know better. Oh, yeah, okay. You're going to get that lottery money, schools, so we'll cut it from the education budget. Yeah, that,
Right.
and when they started talking about the lottery in California, when Carol and I moved here, I said, just call California and find out how they conned everybody in the state when they started that thing. And it's, I don't know. But hey, you are right. The states are in it, so why not? What the heck? So are we going to be talking to you guys during the holiday period, or are we off
Well,
till
you're not going to
January?
talk to me because I'm taking next week off.
There you go. What about you, Michael?
I'll be here working. Charles, what do you like for the new year?
There are a bunch of stocks that have gotten absolutely pummeled, and maybe they work and maybe they don't work, but there are a bunch of them that fit the January effect category.
Yes.
Companies like Valiant that are
Yeah.
down from 200 to been as low as 12.
These are tax loss candidates.
Right. These are stocks that have been dramatically oversold, and I'm looking for bounces in. I will have a list for this week's market letter, but we're already in Valiant. The symbol is VRX. Right now we're in the December 30th 14 calls that we bought when the stock was right around 14. It's now 14.63. The options that we paid, I think, 70 cents for are 95 cents bid offered at 97 cents. Yesterday they traded as high as $1.30.
Wow. And you know what? We're going to have to leave the folks there. We'll be talking to you after the new year. Happy New Year. Happy holidays. Happy Hanukkah. Merry Christmas. All the above. From the folks at Money Info, brought to you by Princeton Research. Take a look at that newsletter because you get the rest of Charles's conversation with that. WPSL Port St. Lucie.